case at a time. For legal help, call 281-904-6330 today.
Lauren Jono is an elite, international certified, high-performance coach, author, and speaker with over 15 years' experience helping clients transform so that they are living bolder, happier, and more successful lives. Through a combination of her world-class coaching program and exclusive assessments, her mission is to get to the crux of your issues quickly and accurately, and then guide you to achieve sustained and higher levels of clarity, joy, energy, connection, influence, and overall performance in every area of your life. To learn more or to contact Lauren, go to laurenjono.com.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month? Or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location? Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves to the Internet radio media where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Tony Gambone, and we're here today on Tough Talk Christian Radio on the Tough Talk Radio Network. You can find out more about the network by going to toughtalkradionetwork.com. And, you know, we're always looking for people out there that want to share their message, either as a guest or as a host. It's a great platform that we provide for people to get their message heard worldwide. So take advantage of that. If you want to be a guest on this show and bring your message to our listeners, you can go to toughtalkchristianradio.com and fill out a registration form and pick a date that best fits your schedule. Now, my first guest is Evangelist Dan Goodwin. He's been in the ministry since '83, so we're going on a few years here. He has pastored several churches, authored several books, and has been a full-time evangelist since 2003. And Brother Goodwin preaches Bible conferences, revivals, and prophecy meetings across America. Now, we talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he was traveling, and so we're going to find out if he's still on the road bringing the message. Dan, welcome to the show. Uh-oh, did I lose him? Are you there? Hi, Dan. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, right.
Hello.
Very good. Sometimes the internet, we get a little bit of a shaky connection here. So, Dan, welcome to the show.
Good. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you good.
Oh, okay, good. Scared me there for a minute. We're doing fine. I'm actually leaving here in about 2 hours. We have a prophecy meeting in Minneapolis, actually Mankato, just south of Minneapolis, Saturday night from 7 to 9. On my Facebook page, God's Final Jubilee. If any of your listeners happen to be up in that area, they can get the address of where we'll be. We're going to be doing a very exciting prophecy meeting there. But I'm honored to be back on your show. It has been 2 weeks, and we talked earlier, you and I, and thought maybe there was a mix-up. I wasn't sure if this was if we were supposed to be on today or not. But I think the Lord had something for us to do today.
I believe so. It just seems like it. I know that when you were on the show last year, I want to say you were in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had come out of Tennessee. I think I was in Kentucky when I actually talked to you on the phone, but I had just been to Tennessee, had preached at a church there, and had been in North Carolina, Greenville. Had done a TV spot with Nightline. We did a half-hour TV program there. So, yeah, we're traveling a lot, doing a lot of interviews, and I enjoyed your introduction today about faith, and thought maybe the Lord kind of gave me a couple verses to share with your audience before we go on here, if that's all right.
That'd be awesome.
Faith has always been an interesting thing to me, and I've struggled with it many times, trying to get a grasp. But what is faith? Because, we need faith to be saved. We need faith to live the Christian life. We need faith to get our prayers answered. But what is faith? The Bible very clearly illustrates faith in the book of Romans chapter 4. In verse 20 and 21, it's talking about Abraham. it says, now this is when God was going to give them a child, and of course they're both old, and Abraham had to have faith. And so here's what it says: he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith. Okay, so what is faith? He was strong in faith, giving glory to God. And here it is, verse 21. And being fully persuaded, God had promised, God, was able also to perform. So there's your definition of faith right there in Romans 4:21. Faith is simply this: it's believing that God will do what He said He will do. Now, if your listeners will get a hold of that, faith is believing that God will keep His word. If God said something, you can put your faith in it. So that'll change a person's life. When the more you begin to understand the Bible and the character of God, the more faith you can have. Because if you don't know anything about God, how can you trust Him? So faith is trust. Faith is saying, I believe if God said He'll do this, then He will do it. Faith is believing that. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with your listeners. I thought your introduction was great this morning. I think faith is one of the foundational doctrines and principles in the Bible that we need to understand. And I appreciate you bringing that up this morning.
Well, I try to bring up what I struggle with. I found that doing the radio show has helped me more, and it's helped me in so many more ways than I ever even imagined. But just as I mentioned in my monologue, people need to have conversation with other people that are like-minded or have the same curiosities or maybe have some experiences, just like you brought up a verse in the Bible that explains it pretty simple. Right. The hard part is that when things are simple, we always seem to complicate it as people. And having that faith is important, but I know that a lot of people that haven't found the Lord and a lot of people that have found the Lord, they kind of work on proof sometimes, and they're not seeing things going their way, so right away they tend to give up on the belief of what God can do for them. So what is your thought on people sitting down as a group and just have an open conversation? It doesn't have to be, so, I used to think, well, I'm not really versed in the Bible. And I don't think you have to be. You just have to be versed in wanting to know more. What's your thoughts on that?
You gotta have. See, we all were created with a vacuum inside of us. We're all seeking the same thing. We just don't know it. We're all seeking that fulfillment that only through God. See, what we're all looking for. I don't care how much money you've got. I don't care how successful a person gets. There's an emptiness inside us that can only be filled by God, and He made us that way. God created man to fellowship with. When Adam sinned, they made clothes. They saw that they were naked. They hid themselves in the woods. And God shows up and says, Adam, where art thou? They were hiding. And see, God created man to fellowship. But as long as man is outside the gate, hiding in the woods from God, man will never be fulfilled. He'll never have that peace. So to have peace, you have to first have the peace with God so that you can have the peace of God. Those are two different things. To have peace with God, I have got to come to Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. I got to place my faith in Jesus and what He did to save me on that cross. Now I work on the peace of God, which is getting in fellowship with God, getting in fellowship with my fellow man. And you're right, fellowship with other believers is so important. And I have found this. I used to run bus routes, church bus routes, and you'd pick up new kids and you'd put them on the bus, and you could tell right away, Tony, what their character was like by who they hung around with or who they sat with on the bus. You always had some rough kids and some good kids, I hate to put it that way, but you know what I mean. You just watch where people gravitate to, and you can kind of find out what they are in their character. So I think it's important that we get around the right crowd that's going to influence us in the right direction. But boy, talk about a right crowd and the wrong crowd. Look at America today, Brother Tony. 2 weeks ago, our country's turned upside down in 2 weeks. You just think back, July 4th, we had our last interview. My goodness, there's so many things that have happened in America in this 2 weeks. It's not the same country anymore.
Yeah, it's God gave someone the talent to create the internet, and it allows people to be reached in a world in seconds compared to years, and it's a really good thing. But so many people use it for all the wrong things, and we have an abundance of people speaking without thinking. And then if you throw the media in there, their process is to create havoc. So it's really kind of depressing for me. I try not to watch the news. You got to stay up on the news, but I try not to watch the news. I just try to learn some important things, because it can take you. I'll explain it to you like this, Dan. I was reading this book by a comedian named Larry Winget, and the title of the book is "People Are Idiots and I Can Prove It." This book came across my desk, so I was reading it, and it was really funny. I mean, it was kind of funny. It was just because, there's a lot of stuff that you can relate to if you drive down the highway like I-10 through Houston at rush hour. But the fact is, I had to put the book down and put it away because it was giving me a bad attitude. It was allowing me to go into a world that I don't need to go into. I need to be in a helpful world and in a positive place for myself so that I can enjoy the benefits that God put me here for. But there's a lot of things that take place out there that people have access to, and the choices that people make. Just think about if everybody stopped listening to all the crazy stuff on the news, what would the news do? But no one, they kind of feed off of it, and that's where I get scared about, my grandchildren's generation. So in your travels, you meet a lot of people. And in meeting those people, you find out ways you find ways to explain to people what's going on in the world and the message that you deliver. So I want to touch on that. I want people to understand the message that you're bringing as you travel. I mean, so let's start from the beginning, Dan. I know that you might have said this in the last interview for new listeners. Where are you from? What is your mission as you travel across the country? What's the message that you're serving so that people can, find out more about connecting with you?
Yeah, my name is Dan Goodwin. I'm a speaker. I'm a preacher. I speak at prophecy meetings and churches or anywhere that people want to hear. My message is this. My message is that the Lord is coming back, and He's coming back soon. I believe we are the final generation upon the earth, and I believe that this thing is just about to an end. And I believe that God's called me to get that message out there in these last days, to give people a warning to get their life right with Him. If they're not born again, they need to be saved. If they are saved but they're not living for God, it's time to get our life in order. It's time to get things ready to meet the Lord. And I've written a book called God's Final Jubilee. It's a bestseller on Amazon. They can just go on Amazon, God's Final Jubilee. They'll find it. There are hundreds of reviews there. I would challenge your listeners to go and just read some of those reviews. People are saying they're reading the book twice, or some people are saying it's the most important prophecy book they ever read. I'm hearing that all over, and I'm not bragging on me. I don't take any credit for this. This is the Lord's doing. I'm just a vessel that God used. I'm a nobody that came from. I'm not one of these nationally known preachers out there, but God has got this book out there, and I believe the message of the book is for our day and for our hour. And I believe the Lord is coming back, and I believe He's coming back soon. So the book, God's Final Jubilee, is that, and that's what I teach and preach across the country, this thing about the final Jubilee. A Jubilee was something that happened every 49 years in Israel. Every 49th year, the trumpet would sound on the Day of Atonement, and the children of Israel would celebrate for a whole year. The 50th year would be a Jubilee year, and all the property would be returned to the original owner. All the bond servants would be set free. All the debt was forgiven. It was a reset button. Well, there's been 69 Jubilees since Moses instituted the Jubilee way back in Exodus. the next Jubilee on the calendar, which I believe is coming up very soon, possibly even this fall, is going to be number 70. And if you understand numerology and the number 7 with God in the